Welcome to my Chapter 3 screencast on cells, and we're going to break these screencasts into individual sections. As you can see, we're going to do Section 1 first. It's all about cell theory. The modern day cell theory is basically a group effort. There were lots of scientists along the way that contributed part. All these people that you see here, like Hooke and Leeuwenhoek and Schleiden and Schwann and Virchow, they all contributed part of it. And with improvements in the microscope, we were able to see cells in more detail, so we could come together and come up with what we call today the cell theory. The cell theory, like we said before, was a group effort by many scientists along the way, and as microscopes improved, so did our understanding of the cell. But this part down here, let me switch pen colors. This part right here is really important. Our understanding of the cells helps us to explain the field of biology today. There's three parts to the modern day cell theory. The first part, as you can see, all organisms are made of cells. Everything that's alive is made of at least one cell. You have one-celled bacteria, which we call unicellular because uni means one. And we have multicellular organisms like humans because multi means many. Human beings on average have somewhere around 100 trillion cells. The second part of the cell theory is that all cells come from other cells. As you see here, we have a cell going through cell division called mitosis. Every cell in our body goes through mitosis except our sex cells, which are egg cells or sperm cells. They go through a different type of cell division called meiosis, which we will talk about when we get to genetics. The third piece to the cell theory is that the cell is the most basic unit of life. Here's a picture of a prokaryotic cell. Every cell contains all of the parts we call organelles that a cell could function and do all of its responsibilities and survive on its own. There are two types of cells. You see them listed here, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. No matter if we're talking about a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell, each type, it says here, shares certain characteristics. Here you can see three of the characteristics all cells have in common. First one, all cells tend to be microscopic, which means you have to use a microscope to see them because they're really small. That's not always the case though. Egg cells, like a chicken egg, that's what you'd eat for breakfast, they are one-celled organisms that you can see with the naked eye. The second one listed is that all cells are enclosed by a membrane. Membrane actually means thin skin, and as you see here, all cells are surrounded by this membrane, and this membrane helps regulate or control what can come into a cell and what can leave a cell. And finally, the last part, all cells are filled with cytoplasm. Cytoplasm inside the cell is actually made of two parts. There's a liquid part called cytosol, and then all of the little organelles make up kind of the solid part. Together, we call that the cytoplasm. The main difference between the two types of cells, you can see some of them listed here. Eukaryotic cells have what we call a true nucleus, and here's the nucleus in a eukaryotic cell. True nucleus means that it's surrounded by a membrane, and what is stored in here is really important. That's where all of our DNA is located. The other thing about eukaryotic cells is that all the organelles, or the little bitty individual structures, as you can see some of them I'm drawing around here, there's another one, they all have their own membrane surrounding them as well. That's not true for prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells do not have a true nucleus, which means down here at the bottom, you can't see a well-defined nucleus like you do up here in the eukaryotic cell. They do contain DNA, and they do contain a region where the DNA is located, and we call that a nucleoid, which means nucleus-like. The other thing that they don't have are membrane-bound organelles. They do have organelles, not as many as a eukaryotic cell, but none of them have a unique membrane surrounding them. Well, that's it for Section 1 of Chapter 3. Stay tuned for Section 2. In Section 2, we're going to discuss all the different organelles, all the different structures, and their functions.